There's a version of you that already exists, not in the future, not 10 years from now. She exists right now, just slightly ahead of where you're standing. She makes different decisions. She holds herself differently. She doesn't tolerate the things you're still negotiating. She trusts herself more quickly. And the question isn't whether she's real. The question is whether you're willing to grow into her. Welcome back to Carrie. It's not that serious. Over the past 5 episodes, I've shared where this company came from, what it cost me to build, what it took to leave, and why women's stories matter. Today is different. Today is about the woman I am still becoming, because growth doesn't stop when you launch something. It accelerates. And if you're looking for the hats, you can get them online. Tons of fun merch. Oh, sweatshirts, hats today. Woohoo. So, the thought that identity is not static. For a long time, I thought identity was something you arrived at. Like, you know, I had this thing in my mind, identity of who I would be once I was successful in my career. It was like a destination I was going to get to, right? You build the career, you earn the title, you gain the credibility, and then you're that person. What I've learned in the past, especially in the past few years, is that identity is fluid. You don't arrive, you evolve. And every time you outgrow a version of yourself, there's friction because the old identity was super comfy and cozy. It was recognized, it was comfortable, it was rewarded. Becoming someone new means stepping into unfamiliar territory again. So think like in my life, I look at it like the executive versus the creator, right? I started my career as a musician in the arts and doing all modeling and doing all that stuff and creating music and playing music around for people and being in that very creative space. And then I had to shift and move into a corporate space. And then I lived there for a very long time. And shit, I even took a detour as a bartender, right? Because I needed a break. So it was like, and then I went back to corporate. Like I've been through so many iterations of myself. But that was also because I allowed myself to do that. I gave myself permission. Like people's minds were blowing left and right about like, what the fuck is she doing? But for years, just looking at recently, for years, I've operated as an executive. Decisive, strategic, measured. I knew how to build inside of systems. I knew how to grow companies. I knew how to lead, right? But becoming a founder in my own right has required something very different. It's required visibility. And even though I was the face of another company, it's still different. It's so much different when it's like your own thing. Like people are going, why the hell did you create that? Like what in the hell are you doing with your life? Right? This is different. It requires visibility. It's required vulnerability. It's required standing in front of something that reflected me and not just a corporation, right? It reflected, do I trust what Carrie's saying? Like, do I believe her? Do I want to ride or die with her, right? Like, it's not about like saying like, oh, this product, like, this corporation, it's me, right? So there's a really big vulnerability there, right? And that transition has really stretched me in ways that I mean, maybe I anticipated some of them, and maybe that's what my fear was, hesitating sometimes. Because, like, am I ready to be that vulnerable? Am I ready to be like, just out there. I mean, I live pretty loud and pretty out there, but am I ready to do that on the public stage, you know? So it's definitely stretched me, and the executive side of me likes control. I like to control how I do something, when I do something, who I do it for, how I do it, how I direct others to do it. Love that control. The creator in me requires full openness, right? Learning to do both, to be both, has been a part of becoming me, right? This new version of me. Again, another iteration of how do I take all these little amazing pieces of myself and create a magical disco ball that is Carrie, right? The other thing beyond just vulnerability and visibility, and this one has been tough for me, is acknowledging the woman I'm outgrowing. There are parts of me I've had to release. The woman when I overcommit to prove value. The woman that absorbs stress quietly, that one is so tough because there's so much shit that's stressful. Health, kids, life, money, everything. And my way of functioning is extremely quietly about those things. I'm not trying to share all that information all the time, right? But it's important that I'm not just absorbing the stress quietly, right? So it's something I have to keep learning and keep working on outgrowing, right? The woman who tolerates environments and people that drain her. Like whether it's because they look impressive or because I think I need to do it or because they've been somebody that was with me for a long time or because that's what the CEO does or whatever, right? And that one is so tough for all of us, I think. I don't think that's just a me thing. I think that's an us thing. It's just tough, right? This is another one, the woman that measures worth by output. Like my life, I've been a hard worker. Like it's something I'm very proud of about myself. It's something I tried to instill in my daughter. It's something that I always took a lot of great pride in. But sometimes you got to outgrow these old things, right? I'm not saying that I'm not going to be a hard worker. I am. I'm always, I don't think that's something you can remove from somebody, but it's doesn't measure my worth, right? That woman that I'm outgrowing, she got me here. She got me here. It's fucking awesome, right? But she's not necessarily taking me forward. At least not all of the pieces of her. And I think that's the key here is like taking the good and letting go of the bad and or not even the bad, but the things we've outgrown, right? Setting those things down. Outgrowing yourself is bittersweet. Like there's gratitude and there's grief. Like you have them both at the same time. They can coexist. But that's real. Like to have a friend of many years that is draining you or isn't in alignment with what you're doing or where you're going, that's heartbreaking. Even when you're talking about different stages of life and you're outgrowing something, it's not necessarily about like, oh, I'm never your friend again or anymore. It's just that as we grow and as we mature and as we grow, life changes and who's in our lives changes and the places we are change. So like letting go of like it has to be this way or that way is hard. But again, gratitude and grief can coexist. And part of growing is hanging on to the good stuff and letting go of the things that aren't serving you anymore. The woman I'm becoming is doing a better job at protecting her nervous system. I don't even want to say protects her nervous system because I'm doing a better job at it. Like, again, not perfect, doing a better job about it. Um, Chooses aligned partnerships over prestigious ones. That's an easier one for me because I truly believe in aligning with energy and people and companies that align with what we're trying to do. So I do like the prestige of having an amazing, you know, having amazing partners with my company that people know and that they respect. I love that. Of course I do. But it has to be in alignment with what I'm doing. It can't just be impressive. It has to be in alignment, right? Values presence over performance. That's a big one too, because when you're building a company, when you're building a business or a podcast or whatever, sometimes it's hard to just have the presence, right? Like it's hard to value that over like actual performance and numbers, right? Because again, this is a business. We're trying to make money, we're trying to live our lives and pay the bills. We got mortgages, we've got food, we've got kids, like so that's valuing the presence over the performance is a big one. And there's a fine line there. Understanding that rest is strategic. This is a big one for me. That is a struggle. I don't sleep a ton, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving my body time to rejuvenate itself every night, right? Like that I'm actually resting, like on the weekends, that I'm actually not working 15 hours every day or more. So rest is strategic, and I can't be as powerful if I'm not taking care of myself. Understanding that expansion requires boundaries. This is huge for all of us, right? We constantly let our boundaries get pushed. Let's just say it that way. Maybe some of us are amazing at like having these hardcore boundaries and then just you always stick to them and you're amazing. But boundaries, I have set boundaries that I've let slide, right? In the past. And so understanding that I can still expand and I can still have personal expansion even when those boundaries are dead set. Um, Ambitious is not frantic. Powerful, but not hardened. Like these are all things that like I've written down that I'm trying to think about, trying to expand and trying to share with you guys. Growth is discipline, but it's not self-punishing, right? So like if I didn't get everything done on my list, some of it's going to have to move to tomorrow, right? Like it's not like, oh my gosh, I didn't get everything on the list done, so I'm going to stay up till 3 a.m., get it all done, sleep 2 hours, and then get back up. And that's the punishment I get for not finishing. No, like come on now, like right? We have to be disciplined. Discipline allows us to get shit done, but self-punishing, come on, like we've got to take it easy on ourselves, right? Rushing clarity, building with intention, like these are things that when we stop and think about them, they're so important. And clarity, I feel like sometimes we're so desperate for the right answer. We're like rushing to get there, and that's just not the reality. Sometimes things take the quiet time, the rest I was just talking about. Sometimes it's like, man, I got to sleep on it. I don't know the answer, right? Trusting that momentum built slowly lasts longer. So just because I'm rushing to get to something, if I'm building it solidly and slowly, it's going to last longer as opposed to me just like rushing to get everything done. I think there's really something to that, right? So it's about bridging these versions of ourselves, right? You know, no one talks, what no one talks about enough is the space between who you were and who you feel you're becoming. It can feel so uncomfortable and so disorienting, like so lonely, quite frankly, because you're not that person anymore and you're not quite yet this person. Who the fuck am I? Right? You don't fully identify with either version, not the old one, not the new one. And you're working to become better, hopefully, right? Like in this new version. Um, but you're not fully embodied in the new one yet. So that middle space, it feels like uncertainty. It feels, again, uncomfortable. Like it's tough, right? It's like, this is going to sound so cheesy because I come from construction, but it's like construction, like it's scaffolding, sorry. It's reinforcement. You're strengthening before you expand. It's like, you're not building bridges top down, right? You're building that foundation first, right? And it takes a lot of patience. So much patience. So growth at this stage of life, right? I'm not 20 anymore. Like, I'm not. Facts. So growth at this stage feels so much different. Like, there's so much more wisdom, hopefully, right? There's so much more pattern recognition. There's so much more self-awareness. But with all those good things, there's also more responsibility, more visibility, more risk. There's a lot of things that come with that. So it's not just, again, it's not all good or all bad. It's a kind of a weird mixture, right? And choosing expansion now isn't naive, right? This is deliberate. This is informed. I'm my example of me is I'm very deliberate in what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to build. Measured courage, I heard that the other day. Yes, like absolutely. And that makes it powerful, right? And again, I know I've said it before, but there's not it's not linear. There's not like one, and I've told this to my daughter, I've told this to young ladies in the beginning of their career. Like, there's not one path to success. There are many paths to success, many paths, right? Like, I feel like we get so trapped in these like roles, in these, this is the way you do it. You graduate, you go to college, you do this, you do that. Like, there's all these like parameters around how we're supposed to do things, and that's bullshit. Like, there are so many ways to get there, and becoming she isn't one big leap. It's like all these millions of daily choices. It's all these choices along the way. It's learning along the way. It's having the balls to send the email, It's like having the balls to have the hard conversation, ending the partnership, booking that solo trip. And by the way, we're going to get into this too, but like, I've done a ton of trips where I've traveled by myself. Oh my God, is it liberating and exhilarating? You feel so freaking stressed and terrified when you are taking that step to go on that first trip alone. And then you do it and you're like, that was amazing. And you're like, I am a badass. Like, it's so empowering. So if you're booking the trip, here's your sign to do it. Do it, book the trip. But also, going back to this becoming, it's also learning to say no. It's also learning to say yes to some things, right? That are uncomfortable, that we're like, oh my God, dude, I don't want to do that. But it's like, it's saying no to the things that we're like, no, that's past my boundaries, or that's not for me. I know it, so I'm going to say no to that. Or, wow, that's an awesome opportunity. I'm going to say yes to that. I'm nervous and I'm fearful, but I'm going to go for it. recording the episode. Hello. Publishing the idea, trusting the instinct. Becoming isn't glamorous. In fact, most of the time it's really uncomfortable because you're like, fuck, man, can I do this? Like, what am I thinking? Like, what am I doing with my life? But it is repetitive courage. Like, I need to put that on a shirt. It's repetitive courage, these tiny decisions over and over, and they all start adding up into this big thing that is you. So if you're in between, if you're listening to this and you feel in between versions of yourself, welcome to my world. But if you feel in between versions of yourself, if the old identity doesn't quite fit and the new one feels slightly or totally intimidating, you are not lost. You're expanding. You're growing. And expansion often feels unstable before it feels empowering. So trust the growth. Trust the stretch, okay? Trust the recalibration. Trust the internal shifts that you got going on. They are building something. You are building you. You are growing. So this is good. You're expanding, okay? So what comes next? This solo chapter of the podcast has been very, very intentional. Like I said before, I wanted to make sure to introduce you to who I am, why I'm doing this. I needed you to know me, not just the brand, not just the mission. And you'll get to know me really well over these many, many, many episodes to come. But not just the brand, not just the mission, but me, right? Because as we move into our WIP conversations or anything else, you'll hear echoes. You'll hear the same themes of reinvention, boundaries, health, money, risk, becoming, and you'll recognize them because you've lived pieces of them too. So the woman I'm becoming is absolutely not finished, not even close, nowhere. She's not polished. Hello, look at this podcast. She's not final. She's evolving, okay? And that's okay. Like, it's okay to not be perfect, ladies, okay? We've got to give ourselves this permission. And that's the freaking point. We're allowed to evolve. We're allowed to outgrow. We're allowed to redesign. We're allowed to build something expansive without abandoning ourselves in the process, right? So thank you for being here for these first 6 episodes. I am so grateful for all of you that are listening, even if it's only my mom. But next week we begin the WIP highlights and the Women in Power, speaking to those women that shared their vulnerability and shared their stories. And we're going to bring that into this podcast space. So I cannot wait for you to hear these stories. I cannot wait for you to connect with these incredible women. Like, they're a bunch of badasses. So until then, keep building, keep stretching, keep becoming. You got this. You are not alone. And remember, it's not that serious. That's a wrap on today's episode of Carrie, It's Not That Serious. If this conversation resonated, subscribe and share it with a WIP, a woman in power in your life. You can find more conversations, more community, and all the fun INTS merch you love at itsnotthatserious.com. We're building something meaningful here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it. Until next time, remember, it's not that serious.